All right, shalom, beloved. This is part of the video I didn't include in the original teaching because I got so caught up into what I was saying. So I had to come back and insert this part because we are talking about rather what is anti-Semitism. So what I want to do is give you the definition from the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, and it's very extensive because the anti-Semitism that people use to classify others as anti-Semitic isn't as easily defined in the dictionary as we may think it is. In fact, the common sense idea for anti-Semitism would be simply something done against Semites or to be against Semitic people, and more oftentimes in a discriminatory or racial way, which would cause you to discriminate, mistreat them, or cause hate crimes. But let's look at the definition by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, and let's look at it in its entirety so we see how they define it, because this is the definition that most often is being used. Now, what I will do is try to make this a little bit bigger on the screen so that you can read it more clearly. All right. And we'll read it all the way to the end. Okay. So it says about the IHRA non-legally binding working definition of anti-Semitism. So let's begin reading. The IHRA is the only intergovernmental organization mandated to focus solely on Holocaust-related issues. So with evidence that the scourge of anti-Semitism is once again on the rise, we resolve to take a leading role in combating it. But to begin to address the problem of anti-Semitism, there must be clarity about what anti-Semitism is. Now, this is their definition that I'm going to read from you, and this is what I consider more of a political definition and not a classic definition, because they expand on it quite extensively for the purpose of promoting their policy, all right, or politics. The experts in the IHRA's Committee on Anti-Semitism and Holocaust Denial built international consensus around a non-legally binding working definition of anti-Semitism, which was then adopted by the plenary. By doing so, the IHRA set an example of responsible conduct for other international fora and provided an important practical tool for its member countries. So they're working with more than just the United States, but several other member countries to define what anti-Semitism is. Let me continue. The working definition has empowered many to address this rise in hate and discrimination at their national levels. Information on endorsement and adoption of the IHRA working definition of anti-Semitism can be found here. And they leave a link here. You can go to holocaustremembrance.com and then look at /resources and then go to working definitions, charters, and it'll give you this particular page that I'm reading from. Countering anti-Semitism today also means countering Holocaust distortion. Explore the IHRA's toolkit against Holocaust distortion to learn more and to find ways to get involved. And this is probably the part that has gotten Ron Dalton in trouble with his film being labeled anti-Semitic as much as any other part. But there's several other things in here that they define as anti-Semitic, which is also why they would have labeled the film Hebrews to Negroes as anti-Semitic. So let's continue reading. The working definition of anti-Semitism. In the spirit of the Stockholm Declaration that states, with humanity still scarred by anti-Semitism and xenophobia, the international community shares a solemn responsibility to fight those evils. The Committee on Anti-Semitism and Holocaust Denial called the IHRA plenary in Budapest 2015 to adopt the following working definition of anti-Semitism. On 26 May 2016, the plenary in Bucharest decided to adopt the following non-legally binding working definition of anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews which may be expressed as hatred toward Jews. Rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed toward Jewish or non-Jewish individuals and or their property, toward Jewish community institutions and religious facilities. It says, to guide IHRA in its work, the following examples may serve as illustrations. Manifestations might include the targeting of the state of Israel, conceived as a Jewish collectivity. However, criticism of Israel similar to that leveled against any other country cannot be regarded as anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitism frequently charges Jews with conspiring to harm humanity, and it is often used to blame Jews for why things go wrong. It is expressed in speech, writing, visual forms, and action, and employs sinister stereotypes and negative character traits. Contemporary examples of anti-Semitism in public life, the media, schools, the workplace, and in the religious sphere could, taking into account the overall context, include, but are not limited to, calling for aiding or justifying the killing or harming of Jews in the name of a racial ideology or an extremist view of religion, making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations about Jews as such, or the power of Jews as collective, such as, especially but not exclusively, the myth about a world Jewish conspiracy or of Jews controlling the media, economy, government, or other societal institutions. Accusing Jews as a people of being responsible for real or imagined wrongdoing committed by a single Jewish person or group, or even for acts committed by non-Jews. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier when I said that they have made anti-Semitism not about Semites, but about one particular group of Semites, and that is Jews, of which we saw in the Cambridge Dictionary, it said that not all Jews are such as the Anglos and Slavs. So you see how this is a political definition, all right, meant to enforce a policy on behalf of the people who are putting this together for their own benefit, and it's not all inclusive of other people who are Semitic. So this is really not genuinely anti-Semitic in terms of the way they're laying this out. This really is just anti-Jewish, and in particular, anti-European Jew or anti-white Jew. And it not necessarily applies to others unless we see them actually go beyond that and we see a case where they would do that. And then we could say, okay, well, they're applying it to everyone who considers themselves Jewish, all right, regardless of skin color. But so far, we haven't seen that. So let's continue reading. Denying the fact, scope, mechanisms, e.g. gas chambers, or intentionality of the genocide of the Jewish people at the hands of National Socialist Germany and its supporters and accomplices during World War II, the Holocaust. Accusing the Jews as a people or Israel as a state of inventing or exaggerating the Holocaust. Accusing Jewish citizens of being more loyal to Israel or to the alleged priorities of Jews worldwide than to the interests of their own nations. Denying the Jewish people their right to self-determination, e.g. by claiming that the existence of a state of Israel is a racist endeavor. Applying double standards by requiring of it a behavior not accepted or expected, or demanded of any other democratic nation. Using the symbols and images associated with classic anti-Semitism, e.g. claims of Jews killing Jesus or blood libel, to characterize Israel or Israelis, drawing comparisons of contemporary Israeli policy to that of the Nazis, holding Jews collectively responsible for the actions of the state of Israel. Anti-Semitic acts are criminal when they are so defined by law. For example, denial of the Holocaust or distribution of anti-Semitic materials in some countries. Criminal acts are anti-Semitic when the targets of attacks, whether they are people or property such as buildings, schools, places of worship, and cemeteries, are selected because they are or are perceived to be Jewish or linked to Jews. Anti-Semitic discrimination is the denial to Jews of opportunities or services available to others and is illegal in many countries. So again, brothers and sisters, this is how the IHRA, or International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, defines anti-Semitism. And when you see people classified as anti-Semitic, this is what they're talking about.